Welcome to the Curious Conversations Collaborative with your hosts Karen Revell and Tessa and Karen. We hope by listening to these conversations you will gain insight, awareness, perspective, inspiration and motivation to create a career or business and life that lights you up and brings you happiness and joy.
Right. Good morning, Karen. How are you today?
I'm very well. Hi, Tessa. How are you?
Hi. So, is it cold in the UK as well?
It's probably not as cold. It's not that cold, although I think the temperature's dropping today, but I feel a bit chilly coming back from Spain. So
Yeah.
I'm acclimatizing.
Yeah, you're not allowed to complain. Right. So, what are we talking about today?
Today we were going to talk about the topic around confidence.
Yes.
And what that is and how that impacts, probably how it impacts us when we're in our work, I think predominantly, whether that's a business or, in the corporate world. So well, I guess, Tessa, like, what would you say confidence is? What does confidence represent to you?
Yeah, and I think for me, the interesting thing is that it changed a lot actually in the last few years. Before, I always thought confidence, it's like when you see these people who are really, like, who are just there. Yeah, they're present, they just seem to just say what they want to say, do what they want to do. They just seem to be, and this is the interesting bit, they seem to not care what other people think about them. And this is something that really changed for me in the last year, that I really started seeing that for me, really true confidence is that you do care what other people think, but you're not being dependent on it.
Okay.
And I thought that, yeah, for me, that was a real change in how I looked at things. So for me, confidence is, yes, it might look from the outside, it can look like that strong presence, but it can also be a very soft presence. It's really more for me now around that you are able to be your true self if you want, but at least to really stay true to what you believe in, or true to who you are, or true to what's important to you. And that you can do that. And for some people that might be in that, again, in that real presence and really being outspoken, but it could also be much softer. And for me, for myself, I know that the times when I feel confident is when I feel that I feel aligned, that I feel, okay, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, how I'm reacting to someone else is based on that I still take account of the other person's feelings, that I still care about even what they think of me, how I'm coming across, but that's who I am, or what I'm doing is not dependent on that. That I can.
Yeah. And that's interesting, because when I was thinking about confidence, I was looking back at people that I see as being very confident, and I think that, and it's probably similar to what you're saying. I see a difference between being confident, which I think all of us can be confident in a moment, and being totally self-assured. And I think that's what you're saying. It's like when you understand yourself and you accept yourself, you can be much more self-assured.
Yes.
And I know people who would say they're not confident, but to me, they have that presence about them. They have that self-assuredness, and they might be unconfident in a situation. So they might be about to do something that they don't feel very experienced in, or whatever, and they don't feel very confident in that situation. But in themselves, they're very self-assured. Whereas what we can also be is we can be very confident in the moment, in a situation or an environment. We can even force it. We can, there's that saying, fake it till you make it. And I think you can, it comes from NLP, you can get yourself into a state of feeling very confident, but you can do that for a short period of time if it's not something you are truly confident in. You can fake it, you can put yourself into that situation and force it in the short term. So I do think confidence and self-assuredness, if that's a word, is are two different things. They're under the same umbrella, but one's much more deeper within, which I think is what you're saying as well.
Yeah, I think so. For me, as I said, like, I mean, and this is something, as I said, this only happened in the last year or so that I really started realizing that subtle difference. But also this, because because I think also we automatically see extrovert people, we sooner see them as confident, whereas that's not necessarily true, because they're the people that often are just there. And this is why I'm saying, like, that there's this inner confidence, if you like, and then that outer, how it comes across. And I think what you're saying is very true, that I think no one is all the damn confident in every situation. And I think there's like that element of being self-aware about that. And then I think in certain situations where you might have to present yourself, there is definitely techniques you can use to, at least for a short time, feel okay in that situation, feel confident enough to maybe give a talk or whatever it is, to have in a meeting to say the things you think people need to hear. And I think that's very important, because also that realization that you don't have to be in a state of fear, dear, that you're always confident or everywhere all the time before you would be able to do something like that, that it's okay to do that in a short time.
And that's really interesting, because the introvert extrovert piece, and I think those words can be misconstrued. Some people think introverts are all shy and extroverts are all loud and brash, and that's not the case. It's about where you re-energize from, where you get your energy from. But I think it reminds me of a situation actually when I was at school, because I was very quiet and shy naturally. But I think at that time I probably wasn't necessarily totally, I was quite a timid person, but I'm not saying I was unconfident at the time. But I remember all through my schooling, my teachers, because I was fairly quiet, when they'd call the register, for instance, they'd call my name about 3 times to make me shout it out. And over time, I would lose confidence in myself, because it was like, I'm quiet, I'm shy, and I made that belief that was a bad thing, and that I had to be loud and be, more assertive. But that's not my natural style.
No.
And obviously now, especially some of the work I do now with using some of the tools, the profiling tools, and that, it's like, understand that some people are very naturally quieter, naturally slower. Some people are naturally faster and louder and get excited. And some people are more grounded or more sensory. Others are full of ideas, and that's so we are all different. And when we accept that, we can be more confident in who we are, and not have to be like them. It's like when we was talking about comparing ourselves to others, and it's like, oh, now I know that I'm not like them. I don't have to be like that. So actually I can be more confident and more self-accepting, and therefore become more self-assured in myself.
And this comes back to what we just said, that people still very often, when you think of confidence, you see the strong person, even if you see in books, even in self-help books and in books around becoming self-confident, you still very much see images that are like this, so I think there's still somehow, that kind of innate idea or belief that you have to be out there and prominently present to be confident. Whereas the interesting thing what you said earlier, that you said that sometimes when you think of someone being very confident, but then when you talk to them, that they are actually saying, oh no, I don't feel confident at all. And I think an element of that is what you mentioned around that they may be confident in certain situations but not in others. But another element of that is that little bit of that when you don't feel confident at all on the inside, but you build this kind of confident image, And again, there is an element, I do believe that it sometimes is very much okay to do the fake it till you make it, and to, you know, there are situations if you really kind of have to do something, then that's totally fine. But it is something you need to be really, really self-aware of, that that's what you're doing. Because otherwise you have the risk of having having this outer layer of like, here I am, take it or leave it, this is me. And then it becomes this kind of fake confidence, whereas because although it may come across very confident, you on the inside might actually, well, be dying is a strong word, of course, but you know what I mean. Like, you know, that you really, really don't feel that. And that can be also very problematic for people, because if in your environment, whether that's in your private situation or in work, if people have that idea of you being really strong and confident, but you feel from the inside really insecure or whatever, that then it's also much harder to make sure to start feeling better on the inside, because although there's a lot of work you can do about that, that it has to be aligned with obviously what's around you. So if you're all the time putting up another image, then that's really what's happening for you. Then that can actually cause a lot of feeling of disconnect and disalignment, which can, you know, we won't go into that right now, but that can actually have a very detrimental effect on all kind of other aspects in your life or even your health.
Cause a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And so I think confidence is, you know, more related to your situation and the environment and maybe the task that you're doing. You can be, so if you've got a lot of experience, you know, once we've done something, you know, if we do it for the first time, we might not be that confident in it, but as we repeat the task or whatever it is we're doing, we can become more confident. So I think confidence to me is much more related to what we're experiencing, whether that's doing or, you know, hearing or whatever. It's an experience, so that we will grow in confidence the more we do something or the more we see it or practice it or whatever. Whereas what we've really been talking about is that what we perceive to be confidence isn't really, it's more that presence, that self-assuredness of knowing. And I think, you know, that helps us to be confident in situations, because if we're more self-assured, we have more belief in ourselves that we can do this task or whatever it is that we're about to do. But you know, there's that distinction of like, if we understand and feel stronger within ourselves, then we can, and we have that belief, then we can be more confident in being able to do something, as opposed to having no confidence in the situation. That's often comes from, well, there's something in myself that I feel disconnected with, or I believe about myself, it's about my own identity, that doesn't give me the confidence in this to be able to do this.
And I think there's a huge element of that. And then for me, what I notice in my work with people, when we really look at that, you know, this being more true to who you really are and being really aligned in what you're doing, that what I really notice with people, what the biggest struggle is around confidence. Yes, there's the element of experience, and that if you practice something a lot, it definitely becomes easier. Although there's also certain things that, like, for instance, some people will always have difficulty with speaking for big groups, for instance, like however often they do it. So there's also an element that, you know, there's certain things where, certain situations where if it's really something you have difficulty with, you might never really feel fully, truly confident in that situation. But I think what makes people then really feeling not confident, what's the biggest problem is really that, and I'm going to be a little bit spiritual here, resistance to the situation, to resist what is. So what I notice, that this true confidence, like whichever way that then looks for the outside world, but that feeling confident within really comes from allowing the situation to be as it is. So for instance, that even if you are speaking for a group and that the actual speaking might be very scary to you, but then when you allow yourself to find that difficult, already you feel much more confident.
Right. Yes.
Sure.
I think I understand. So you're becoming more present or more accepting of the situation.
And of yourself.
And of yourself and your own feelings and thoughts. Okay. Yeah.
That, like, for instance, instead of going like, oh my God, I should not be nervous, I should be doing this okay, I should know all this, oh, what if I forget, I should, like, you know, this, I should do it this way, or I should be this way. And the other element of that as well is that when you have some lack of self-worth, or you don't really believe in yourself. And again, self-belief to me is not necessarily whether you can do it or not. There is situations where you might not know, but the self-belief can be that you are doing the best you can and that you trust in yourself. And if that is low, then most of us, what happens is we start looking for external approval. And I think this is where that lack of confidence most comes up, because then the worry when I'm doing something is not about, yes, it is about, can I do it? Am I doing it right? But it comes from the idea, what will other people think of me? And I think that's really the key here, that if we, and then what happens with that, what I said earlier, this kind of, I do call it a little bit like false sense of confidence, can be that we go the other way and go, well, I don't care what anyone thinks, this is me. But then it is just a layer, because inside we actually do care what others think. We just have to build this sort of shield as not caring. So if you can let that go, and if you can get into that space where you're still really open to how people experience things or what people might think, but not in a, oh, what will they think of me? And help, what do I do with that? Because I need them to approve of me and think I'm good, because actually I don't think I am. So I think that to me is the real underlying thing of confidence, that you can get into a space where you're okay with, at that moment in time, with who you are and what you're doing, and that you can openly listen to what other people might experience or what their feedback might be, without that letting completely determine your self-worth.
Yeah. So Tessa, this is an area that you work a lot with. So what sort of tools, if someone's feeling quite low in confidence, what sort of tools or what mechanisms can they use to start bringing up their own level of confidence and self-assuredness? Because I know that, and I think we've all been in that situation, that when we've lost confidence, and that it can easily become a spiral and affect all areas of our life, because we start to almost shrink as a person. So if you're feeling like that, or if you're going through a situation that's really knocked your confidence and your belief in yourself, what are some of the things that you might be able to do for yourself that could just help start bringing you back up? Because it is really a temporary state.
Yeah. So for more longer term support, we would be looking really at that, that getting much more present within yourself, feeling more confident within yourself by being more grounded and present. But I think for a lot of people, when something happens in the moment, that can obviously be quite difficult. It's something that takes quite a bit of practice to really feel that. And I think this is the thing for me, with, you mentioned NLP, so I use that a lot as well. But there's always this little element of caution that I mentioned to people. All these things that are based on changing your belief, so the way that you change the language you talk to yourself. If you stop there, if it's only about changing how you think about it or how you believe it, you have to go deeper than that to make it really sustainable, because you have to actually experience and feel it. But saying that, in the moment you have to maybe prepare for a meeting tomorrow, then I do think it can be very useful tools to kind of really say to yourself, well, is this actually true? And what would I say to a best friend? If they came to me and they said, oh, I have this meeting and I'm worried about this and I think I'm not good enough, what would you say to your friend? And like, for instance, to also think about this, have you been at a presentation where someone made a mistake? Now, one or two people in the audience might have thought, like, stupid person, but in general, most of the time, is that what people really think?
Yeah, and actually, quite often when something like that happens, we actually warm to their vulnerability.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, it can actually make you have a better human connection.
Yeah,
So,
and I think in situations, and this can be a meeting, this can be a presentation, this can even be in a conversation with your partner, it can really help. And this is scary for people. People find this really difficult, but it can really help to say, hey, I'm actually a bit nervous about bringing this up. Because as you said with the warming, but also this, if you show that you're vulnerable, if you actually are honest, like most of the time, if you would do a presentation and you said, coming out here, I must say, I have to take a deep breath. I'm a bit nervous for standing before a group. And she said, most people go like, oh, I would be, don't worry, we won't bite.
yeah.
I think, and it can help you as well, that you then are not spending all your energy and also your brain capacity, if you like, to trying to hide that you're nervous.
Yes.
It often results in you forgetting what you were going to say, whereas at the moment, and this comes back to that idea of not resisting and accepting the situation as it is and how you are in that moment, that you can just say, hey, I'm a bit nervous. And mostly just by saying that, you actually feel calmer.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that's a very short tip. And of course, like as I said, it goes much deeper and there's different situations and people find this difficult. I think, again, one of the very helpful things always is the breathing, always trying to, that breathing more into the belly area to kind of get out of your head a little bit more. These are small little things you can do anytime. But I think if not feeling confident is very much linked to this lack or limited self-belief and self-worth, then to really obviously not going into this false confidence, but to really kind of build a confidence where you can really feel okay with everything or with yourself. You obviously need a little bit more practice, but there's lots of things there as well. So if anyone wants to hear about that, let me know. I am happy to tell you a bit more about it. But I think,
But I think you picked up on something really important there, that it's getting out of your head and into your body and your feelings, because it's your feelings that create the fear, the resistance, and then ultimately the thoughts that go raging around in your head. And, and it's also our feelings that we link back to from our past. I think that's what brings up our memories and that. And I mean, one of the interesting, actually, one technique I've done myself is sometimes, when you're working for yourself, it can be a bit lonely and you can lose your confidence sometimes. And just having a place where you store testimonials, whether it's from your previous work or from like clients you've worked with, and just reading back through some of those and just kind of lifting yourself up again, because you start connecting with that almost sense of purpose of why you're doing something as well, and that can recharge your confidence and your belief in yourself, to say that actually, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I am good at it, and so even if you have knocks, finding ways that just connect back into those emotions that make you feel good about yourself, I think can calm you down and lift you up.
And that's that difference between making sure that you feel confident enough within yourself that you're not dependent on the approval of the outside, but at the same time there always is this connection, and we're working with people, so of course also for knowing that what we're doing, that we're on the right track, it is important to also see those testimonials and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with caring what they think, what people think, and to kind of course feel good about that. So it's that balance again between if you can't feel good about yourself without any of the testimonials, then I would definitely suggest do some more inner work. But if it's, as you said, we all have these moments where you say, I'm a little bit doubting myself right now, and then those tools can be great tool to kind of bring yourself back. So that comes back again, and I think this is, for me, the most important, again, that I say to people is like, be honest to yourself. Know when you just need a little boost, and it's fine to do any simple technique, or when you know, no, actually, I feel a little bit too dependent on, that I get that external approval, and I need other people to tell me that I'm good before I can feel any type of confidence. Then I would suggest go, do some more work as well on that, just for yourself. It's not, you don't have to be honest to everyone around you about this if you find it difficult to share that, but be honest to yourself at least.
Yeah.
Right. I know we have been talking for quite a while again, so I think maybe we should leave it at this. I think one of the topics that we could definitely talk about sometime is that idea, the kind of short-term versus long-term like techniques as well, because that's relevant for confidence, but also for authenticity, about knowing yourself. It's relevant for so many things. So to maybe look at this thinking versus feeling and things like that, and how it works, because I think, again, those are very valid, but it can be sometimes, sometimes we think it's fine as long as we say to ourselves everything is fine, but we don't go deep enough to also actually feeling it. So I think that might be an interesting topic as well. Talk about that sometime.
Yeah. Super.
Right. So, well, it was great to talk to you. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to say about it.
No, I think we'll wrap up for today, and we can continue the conversation another time.
Definitely, for sure. Right. Well, anyone who was listening or watching today, thank you for being here. And again, if you have any questions or if there's anything you would like to share, please, you can do so in the comments below here. Or if you're listening to this, you can send us a message as well. If there's anything that in particular came up, you can always contact us in any way you want. And if you have any suggestions or requests for us about something you would like us to talk about, do let us know. And otherwise, we will see or hear you next time. Bye.
Okay. Thanks. Bye, Tessa. Bye, everyone.